Welcome to episode 120 something of the Croatia podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to anybody who has just tuned in for the first time. Well, what happened last week, right? Hey, what is going on? The boys under some pressure. There's a lot going on, and I can't see my way. I'm trying to find time to record, time to edit, time to do everything, and time to watch Argentina win the World Cup. And none of it coming together. But how are they going? How everybody going? It's been a long time. I'm trying to remember I'm trying to figure out if I could remember how to do this and what is exactly the setup and how it's supposed to go. Like, what are we supposed to talk about first? Something. What was the order of the things we talk about? It feels like it's been a while. And listen, it's only about 2-3 more weeks in the year. This could be the last episode of the year, so take a drink. Celebrate however you celebrate. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, possibly. I know. You will see how it goes. They're trying to half kill me. But how the World Cup going for? A lot of teams is out. A lot of teams have gone their way. Well, all the Brazilian fans, for some reason, Trinidad and Jamaica too. Caribbean people seem to be real Samba people when it comes to the football, but the Samba make their way. They clear out. So no, they are no longer a threat. I don't tell you that I have a love-hate relationship with Argentina, right? I'm the only Argentina fan who celebrate when they win and when they lose. I like Argentina because, again, as I always say, 1986, Diego Armando Maradona is the man you watch. It's my first World Cup that I know myself. And they should Sheppy and them tell me what football is. I like Maradona, and Maradona and them win. So I stick with Argentina since then. But the lack of black people and melanin in Argentina and the history of Argentina and black people is make me celebrate when they lost too. So it's a win-win situation for me. Lose-lose for Messi because it didn't look good against Netherlands. I think Argentina has yet to look good in this World Cup. People who see Argentine fans, everybody feeling like, there's a chance now. Blah, blah, blah. Argentina is not looking good. They didn't play good in a single game yet. I mean, I think they had one game that they win big. But other than that, every game looking like that Saudi Arabia game, like they could be going home to. And with Croatia next, I don't think there's a better opportunity for Messi to win a World Cup. I see Ronaldo had to make his exit. It was quite sad to see. Zachary, my son, seemed to be a Ronaldo fan. I don't know what it is with his youth and Cristiano Ronaldo. That is the only footballer he know. He know finding out about football himself. And he's a big Ronaldo fan. So he and all was sad last week when Ronaldo went home. But this looked like Messi on the pathway to glory. I have a neighbor, salute my boy Karen, who talking about the thief in Argentina and thing, Messi hands a ball and they should go home and he find it. I don't understand the Messi hate. I don't understand that undying Messi love, but I hope to see him win. I like to see the greats come out on top. When the greats come out on top, I think we lived through an era where we were able to see the great Tom Brady, the great Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, John Sally, Vinny Maguire. I don't remember Vinny Maguire. The Microwave, Joe Dumas, and a lesser known player by the name of Michael Jordan. We see Kobe Bryant, the great Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. We lived through an era where we see some of the greatest to ever do it. And I think we should have just celebrate Ronaldo and Messi instead of arguing Ronaldo versus Messi. But it's sport fans, and we in the heat of the World Cup, we're down in the part that matters most. Nobody else is going home, right? Everybody settle where they're going. Everybody who to go back home. England carry it home like how they always do. Portugal back home, Brazil. So the last 4 teams remaining is Argentina, Croatia, Morocco. Salute to Morocco, the African nation that may not necessarily recognize that they're African. They mightn't really know that they're African. And France. No, I'm not seeing a world where Argentina beating France, right? I don't know about you. I'm not seeing that world coming to fruition at all because France has just looked dangerous in every single thing that they do. They play against England. England was the side. I mean, I remember Southgate, who's England coach, right, being asked about playing, I believe it was Rashford or not playing Rashford in a game. And his response was, we have an embarrassment or embarrassing abundance of riches up front. And then lost a game 2-1 and play two holding midfielders, never really attacked the game. I mean, well, I guess with the second penalty, Kane would have tied up the game, but England gone home as they usually do. But France looking good. Mbappe looking like that player who would light up the World Cup like what we used to see Romario and Bebeto and even Batistuta at one point. Or more Goycochea than Batistuta, right? As an Argentina keeper saving a bunch of penalties in one of them World Cups. 98, maybe. So that's where we are. Good luck to everybody who remain. I kind of want to see Morocco come through. I want to see Messi win. I want to see Mbappe win. And I wouldn't really mind seeing Croatia as a dark horse win. So it's a win-win situation for me. I cannot go wrong in this World Cup. Again, I want to say that this turned out to be one of the greatest World Cups ever. I'm not sure if it's just because the game's showing during the course of the day or the fact that every World Cup is have upsets and big teams just go home. But the football now is boring as it was. Like Germany World Cup, some of the games was boring. Like the final for Germany would be where Zidane but somebody and gets sent off. That game was boring. We had Italy against the Netherlands where it was basically a fight. It was boring. This World Cup seems to have real exciting games, and somehow the vibe in the World Cup is there. So again, I just want to call it for free. You know them Yankees say when it's free tax stone, and they say free tax stone until we say it backwards like tax stone free. You know what I mean? I just want to say free Jack Warner, and let's say it back. We say it free Jack Warner until we could say it backwards. Jack was free. Jack Warner is free. And let the man live. The man give us the greatest World Cup. Suppose this World Cup was in England. This thing would be boring like hell. No character, no kind of life behind it. We get a Qatar World Cup, and it seemed to be one of the best World Cups. Non-football fans who really not on it, real interested in this one. I don't know if it's because it had games whole day going on like during our daytime and we had to stay up in the night to watch it, but the quality of the games there, it have enough surprises, enough news coming out of Qatar to keep us interested in it too. I saw an unfortunate story with an American journalist, Grant Wall. First and foremost, rest in peace to Grant Wall. Should not clap for him. Rest in peace to Grant Wall, right? I just getting back used to what a press and thing. Only work with me, right? So the story goes like this. The brother of Grant Wall, Eric Wall, believes that there was foul play involved. So his American journalist Grant Wall, who wore rainbow t-shirt, has died in Qatar while covering the World Cup. His brother speaks out, and the brother is basically saying that he believes that there's foul play involved and they kill his brother, and is directly related to him going there in a rainbow shirt. So we don't know what's the real story, whether it's foul play or not, but reading from NBC. Soccer journalist Grant Wall, who recently made international headlines after he said he was temporarily detained in Qatar for wearing a rainbow shirt, has died, U.S. Soccer said in a statement. A cause of death has not been revealed. Wall also wrote for grantwall.com Substack. What was this Substack? That's the name of his website. Grantwall.com Substack. Most recently worked for CBS Sports, but also worked for other outlets including Sports Illustrated, NBC News, and according to his Twitter page. As an author, in his 2009 nonfiction book, The Beckham Experiment, about British soccer icon David Beckham's transfer to the... All right, so this is who he is, right? He have a bestseller and so on, but unfortunately, he died, and he was arrested and temporarily detained for wearing the rainbow shirt in the game, as the article said, and ended up dead. His brother came out and made a statement. His brother is upset, of course, as anybody would be, but not just upset about losing his brother, but upset about the fact that he believes that there was foul play involved. Let me play a clip from the brother here.
My name is Eric Wall. I live in Seattle, Washington. I am Grant Wall's brother. I am gay. I am the reason he wore the rainbow shirt to the World Cup. My brother was healthy. He told me he received death threats. I do not believe my brother just died. I believe he was killed. And I just beg for any help.
So yeah, heart-wrenching statement from the brother. And so you see where it comes from. His brother, in further statement, so it said that he was, well, as he said here, he's the reason why he wore the shirt and in support of him, and I guess in protest of Qatar's treatment of people in the LGBT community, if I could put it like that. And it makes me wonder, right? Like after the last podcast, I think I'd spoken to Cassius and Cassius, salute Cassius, uh, about this and just different views. A few people had reached out to me after that because I was basically saying that, listen, when you're going in a man country, it's better you respect what the man country, their views, their wishes, their laws, and so on, or probably just don't go. Now, I want to put that against some context, right? Because we just saw Brittany Griner getting released, exchanged for the merchant of death. Salute the merchant of death for finding the way to a shortened sentence for a basketball player. But I mean, ever since, about America and their citizens, right? America, they say the most important thing in the world is American lives. They have to protect American lives wherever it is. So they make a little trade deal. Right now, countries must be looking to see who they could lock up from the States to get back. I wonder who we could lock up in the States that we could trade for Jack Warner, but if they send them back over there, we could just trade them and bring them back. We must have something we could work out, man. Don't have people here to lock up. But just from my viewpoint, I think the idea of having a World Cup in countries of different ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, beliefs, religions, different tapestry and landscape, different sizes, I feel is important, and I feel it leads to a better world. I feel it's one of the things that making this World Cup so interesting, because we getting a little peep into a country that we would not know anything about at all, or most people wouldn't have been to or wouldn't want to go to. It wouldn't be on most people's list. So I like the idea of it, and a part of it, I feel, is for us to openly go into new spaces where they have beliefs that might be different to ours, and respect those beliefs while we're there. Now, I'm saying that against the backdrop that, let me use Martin Luther King as an example, right? Things were laws that he clearly saw as unjust and stood up against those laws, sometimes with his own life being threatened. And that's one of the reasons why we could freely run in and out of the States today and do what we had to do. And we have a World Cup in 2026, which Trinidad will qualify for, and we'll go and we will be in the quarterfinals, just like Morocco and Croatia, you know what I mean? Up there with the big boys. But without him taking that stance that something is legal but not moral, this is the law but it's not right. I had a class this weekend and I was talking to them about ethics, right? And there's a little ethical quadrant that you look at. You have things that legal but immoral, and you also have things that illegal but moral. Make sense? So, for instance, the idea that a black man is worth 1/3 of a vote, or what it used to be 3/5 of a vote, or whatever they had said, that is legal at that time because that would have been the law, but it's not moral, it's not ethical, it's not right. So what you would find in cases like that is that people will agitate. Remember that when you agitate against that, you might well be breaking the law or encouraging others to break the law. Rosa Parks, for instance, would be breaking the law. But it is a law that is unjust, it is immoral, it is unethical, right? So when you look at the situation in Qatar, it have me in two minds, to be honest. And maybe I need all your feedback on this and how you all feel about it. My feeling is that Qatar has a stance against, well, they say they have no stance against LGBT people, right? Or people in the LGBT community, or gay people. Let me simplify this. So they don't have any problem with homosexuality. I saw in one interview, he said what they have a problem with and what they frown upon, backed by law, is public displays of affection. Now, I don't know if none of the women I ever deal with in my life was ever Qatari or anything, but in Trinidad and Tobago, public display of affection, it's illegal not to have public display of affection. If you have a woman and they don't hold her hand, they don't hug you up in public, or they don't kiss all over your road, and you know what I mean, when they have friends over, they don't kiss all the time, and they don't mean like a kiss kitty, that is against the law in Trinidad and Tobago with women in Trinidad and Tobago. But in Qatar, you cannot do that. Maybe you should consider going over there, you know what I mean? So I could just walk the road like normal. You have to hold her hand and sweating and things, you have to hold their hand still. But in Qatar, the man say, public displays of affection are an issue. It takes me back to one of my favorite shows, Sex and the City, and one of my favorite people, Samantha, when they were in Abu Dhabi. Well, Samantha is a public display of affection kind of girl, you know what I mean? And they end up getting locked up, passport taken back, man, pull out a business deal. They had to try and run out of that country. Because these are the people's norms, customs, laws, and so on. And as the guy said in the interview, sorry, I didn't know the fellow name. The man say they frown upon those things. I want to reiterate that he's saying frown upon, but it's not just frown upon. It's backed by law, which means you could get arrested if you have too much public displays of affection. So he says across the board. So in other words, he was saying if a gay person come to Qatar, you and your man in Qatar, and all you do hug up and kiss and hold hands and so on, sword fighting in public, you should be okay. You shouldn't have no problem. Nobody not going to tell you nothing, right? Everybody going to be smooth, and you're going to go about living your life. But if you take chances with PDA over there, or GDA as it might be, you could end up in problems. The issue with Qatar is that as people, I was listening to my voice on the App 868 podcast, salute to Jude and Naldo as always. And they were talking about the human rights atrocities. And that's what I was saying a couple of weeks ago as well. I don't like violence against people. I don't like jail. I don't find nobody should be locked up on them kind of thing. And if it is you frown upon something and you discourage it, that is very, very different to arresting somebody or incarcerating somebody, or in the case of Qatar, which is public and it is all over the place. You could look at it where people could be tortured. You know what I mean? For not, I don't know what, maybe PDA, I had to do a little bit of research and look into it, because this man say it's PDA is the problem. But I have not seen a whole lot of things where man kissing woman in public and then they going down to torture. I think the stance that they're taking against the LGBT or gayness, homosexuality, is a much harsher stance than what he trying to claim against PDA. Now, you have to keep in mind that when you're bidding for something and you want something, you have to say the things that you have to say to get the thing. You know what I mean? This is it's clear that that's what FIFA is about. If you say what needs to be said to get what you have to get, you will get. But then when it comes down to brass tacks or what happening on the ground, there are two different levels to this thing. Number one is what the government and so on say when they're bidding for the thing. Number two is what happening on the ground when you go there. If you want to take those types of chances, you know what you're signing up for. The people have at least accusations or allegations of atrocious infringements on human rights when you're gay in Qatar. And it's not just Qatar, it's a regional thing, right? So if you go there and you decide to display signs of being gay. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, it have plenty signs of being gay. And as a man who's straight, you just have to be very careful about the signs of being gay. Because as a man, I have a sweet walk, right? I have a sweet walk. I don't know what it's caused it. I don't even know what it look like. I've just been told I have a sweet walk. I try to walk straight. I try to bend my foot. I try to straighten my waist. I try not to jiggle. I try all kind of things, but none of it don't work. I have a little bit of a sweet walk. Apparently, I have a sweet walk and a sleepy eye. It's a bad combination. Because I've been approached many times by men them sure. I talk about people who come into me, and when I tell them, nah, brother, not me, I know that, I am guilt and things, them men is be shocked. They say, really? You serious? I was like, what the hell is going on? What kind of signals am I sending off in these streets? I don't know. You know what I mean? So I try to study now. If I'm in Qatar, and I hear them the sweet walk and the little sleepy eye, if I lock up, I looking to get locked up or torture, as the case might be, it's a rough life, you know. But I don't know if those in Trinidad, so if a man asks you a question and you say, yeah, man, you're good, you're not locked up, right? But if somebody say, oh, you're going down today? Yeah. All them thing is signs in this country. I was talking up to being real. All them thing is little signs. As you talk a little sweet or you walk a little sweet in Trinidad, they say, no, he batting and bowling. He playing for both sides, you know what I mean? So I don't know if it's those little subtle signs of being gay or being in the LGBT community that govern anything in Qatar. Or if it's open signs like PDA, you and your man holding hand, or you and your woman holding hand going down the road or whatsoever it might be. But the rainbow flag is a definite giveaway that you are in support of the LGBT community. I could say that. Like, I remember when on Facebook, everybody, it was a trendy thing to do. It was to show support for people who in the LGBT community. Remember the days when Facebook had a profile picture and everybody rainbow their profile picture? I was using that more to see like who is who, like what kind of girls and girls and so on. You know what I mean? I say, but this is good. We should have that. I like identifiers of flags and so on. I could have saved myself a lot of time and a lot of stressful situations if people who was gay had on a rainbow jersey and would assume that because I don't have on one, I'm not gay, despite what the walk and the talk might say. You know what I mean? But my boy Wall went there with a jersey that is that's Grant Wall with a rainbow jersey. We also saw somebody run on the field with a rainbow flag. And I'm thinking to myself like this, okay, so gross infringements on human rights are issue that we should probably all protest and all be against and all stand up for, right? And I would be in support of anybody who wants to go and protest that. But just like the parallel I drawing to Martin Luther King and fighting for rights for us in the States, some of these fights, you have to be prepared to die. You have to be prepared to go. And there might be issues that I personally might take seriously enough to put my life on the line. You know what I mean? I used to tell people all the time, I don't like injustice. When I see people getting advantage, those are things I could intervene in violent situations for where my life might be on the line. Maybe this is something that Grant Wall, on behalf of his brother, felt as if he could go there and fight for and put his life on the line. And I make it. I'm saying all this. Let me not continue to use his name, right? Because we don't have any evidence that there was foul play. I know the brother would feel that way. The fact that he was detained for it says enough to me. People should like whoever they like, and I don't see why the state should get involved in that. But we live in a country where the state very involved in that too. I think you're not supposed to put certain things in certain places in this country. You know what I mean? You know, you could get locked up for that. So there's no evidence of foul play or anything at this point in time. I seen something saying his body was returned to the States, and when I go through this article, I'm not seeing anything that says his death was related to some kind of foul play due to the fact that he had the flag. But just assuming that it is, let's assume that the brother right for a second. And just a little debate I was having with Cassius the other day. I find it's an interesting one, where if this is the situation in the country that we go into, should it be one where we decide that I'm going to stay away from that country and I'm not going there, and that is the way I protest and I show support for people who are being victimized in that country for no reason? Or should I go there and try to conform? Because when you conform, you know, they used to say comply and complain. I think that's a strategy too. It's not necessarily go against everything that's there, but you relax. Don't do anything that will cause you to get jailed or locked up or killed for that matter. And then you can no longer fight once those things happen. But get into the system, understand why they have this stance that they have. Work with them to show them that, listen, I understand what your religion, like most of the religions, would say. But what we have an issue with is not so much you're frowning upon or the way you're treated as a society, but certainly the human rights part of it. They had enough accusations about migrant workers dying during the course of the building of the stadiums and so on, or the preparation for World Cup, which included not just building the stadium but building whole cities. But them fellas say it's only 3 or 4 people died. So, I mean, all in all, rest in peace to Grant Wall. Unfortunately, I heard another journalist passed away while taking in one of the quarterfinal games as well. So, I'm hoping that it had nothing to do with that. And, let's hope that this World Cup isn't marred by all these different off-field issues. But as I continue to say, FIFA are the greatest product on earth. And once they know that once that ball kick, everybody's sweet and everybody love the place again, we're gonna forget all these issues real fast. As a matter of fact, by the time this come out, please let Argentina be beating Croatia. Argentina just go out and win comfortable now. Just score 2 early goal. I don't understand this thing where all the games are to be so much of pressure. But by the time this come out and you're listening to this, we back into the football, and as the FIFA executives had known, once you kick that ball, everything else seems to be secondary. So rest in peace to those who have passed away, and I hope that is nothing like what we're discussing here. Let's just hope it's coincidence, right? In local news, the great McDonald Jacob Great one, the great one, the great one. The man is working. A couple of things about him, right? I ain't like the headline these people put in. These people put a headline in the papers saying vacation from murders. I didn't like. I find only wicked bad man. Now the murder rate is nearly 600 people in this country. I just want to put that out there. We heading fast to 600. So by the time you listen to this, it's the Tuesday, the 13th of December. That is how much days left for God. I know I shouldn't try to do maths live. 30 days of September, April, June, and not December. Right. 13, let me say we have 17, 18 days left, right? 18 days left in the country. And we had 5 plenty already, well past 550. I think the last figure I see was 570 something. Looking like we're going to hit record-breaking figures of 600 this year, hoping that is not the case and everybody keep calm. But the Express so wicked. And Ramdas going up a headline, vacation from murders. But here we're coming, here is the subtext now. Police can handle it, says Commissioner of Police. I think McDonald Jacob shouldn't just don't say nothing, you know what I mean? You don't talk slow already. Just pull it all the way down to a stop and don't say nothing at all. From Anna Ramdas, with murders at an all-time high of 565. This is as of, let me get the date right here. This is of 8th of December, was 565. Acting Police Commissioner McDonald Jacob has proceeded on 35 days vacation, saying it's an opportune time to do so. I find so. I would just like to repeat the words of the great McDonald Jacob. This is an opportune time to go on vacation. Hint, hint, right? As he cleared his desk, he gave the assurance that the executives of Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is capable of leading the police service crime fighting as he proceeds on vacation. Mac, listen. You there or you ain't there, it is clear that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is not capable of leading no police service crime fighting. What are you talking about? You saying this against the backdrop of one of the highest murder rates or the highest murder rates we've ever seen. The toll is continuing to climb. Murder things going unsolved. We just come up with what is the fresh one? What was the newest one that happened today? What went on? I don't know. I can't talk for everybody, but I can tell you that I personally, almost at the point where I am completely desensitized from it. I try not to talk about it here to get me down every week. But I don't pay as much attention to it. When I see the headline, I don't even go to see where the people was, what part of the country they're living in. If it's old people, young people, black people, white people, it's just what it is. It's just the norm for me. I don't know if other people feeling like this, but them headlines of people getting killed every day, it's just, I don't know what day papers are open when I see 2-3 people dead. It look like every single day. Anyway, they went on to say acting DCP Earl Christopher will be the person in charge in his absence. I wish you the best, Mr. Earl Christopher. Maybe you could turn this around in the next 18 days. Speaking to the Express last night by phone as rumors began circulating that he had been sent on leave, Jacob said he had accumulated leave and he felt it was the opportune time to take it now. He said that he's been working endlessly without rest. He said that he's been working endlessly without any rest and believes that the TTPS will not suffer in his absence. Well, at least he put one statement there that it is so true. This is the best statement in the whole thing. Let me repeat. The TTPS will not suffer in his absence as competent leadership at the helm in his absence. There are now 3 deputies. All right, so you understand what's going on. Jacob on vacation, the man say everybody can handle it. What to say about the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago again is I don't always like to come here and talk about the police and the Minister of National Security when it comes to crime in this country, right? Because for a man to commit a murder in particular, that is a choice somebody making, and I don't know what could intervene in that in between the time the person make that choice and when they execute that murder. I do feel as if the Minister of National Security or the security plan, right, that comes from the Ministry of National Security and in conjunction with all the other ministries and the police, must make it more difficult for somebody who decide that they want to kill somebody to do so. We're not talking about a country where somebody get vexed and pick up a big stone and this is like somebody get a bad lash. We're not talking about nobody who get no bad lash. We're talking about men who have easy access to guns and people dying for very little, for frivolous things, for ridiculous arguments. I'm talking about outside of the gang situation and so on, which is also frivolous. Man killing himself, poor people killing themselves for drug turf and you jump in the drug game, you want to see yourself turn Scarface and elevate yourself from thing and then change wrong your life and be good. You ain't even doing that. This is hungry. It's killing one another over nothing. Nobody don't have nothing and they're dying with nothing and living like a rancor because you have ghosts and you have nothing to show for it. And if we don't have a Ministry of Security or a crime plan that being executed by either defense force, the police, or whatever bodies are involved, that make it more difficult for you to kill somebody if you make that decision, we have a problem. And this is a clear problem that we have because it seems as though the access to weapons in this country is unlimited, except for the access to legal weapons. So I go back to a long time ago and I now start listening to Naldo and them talk about this. I think it's a ridiculous notion that it is such a long and tedious process, and for me, an impossible process to get a FUL. So it puts us in one of two buckets, where one, we decide that, or maybe three. One, where we don't want it at all, like I might be still on that side. Or two, where we want it and we can't get it because we're applying and we're waiting. And so salute to my boy Biddy. I remember him telling me outright. He said, boy, listen, I'm not paying no money. And these fellas having, I just want to put it out, having, just in case it was one day. He says he's not putting it out there to pay nobody for not to circumvent no process or pay no bribe. Salute to him for that, right? I done tell him already, if you see me with a firearm, I probably pay the people, I probably pay the bribe, let it be known, I put it on record. If you see me with a fire FUL somewhere, and I get it before men who apply before, I pay my money. But a lot of people I know would not, they don't want to do that. They're not putting out the money for it. They find it's ridiculous. So you apply and then you wait for years and years if you ever get through. And then you have the people who outright go and spend whatever money it is. I remember the first figure I heard was 8,000 and 15,000. Now it's 30 and 40 and 50,000 if you want to get a firearm. Whereas the person who decided, the hungries who decided that they want to pick up a gun and kill their brother, it's very easy for them to get access to guns. Should we as the law-abiding citizens like take the chance and get illegal? I mean, I don't want to put that out there. But hear this for a while, right? When you think about the role that the police and the Ministry of National Security had to play and the government as a whole in a country where the crime is rising so high and gun violence seems to be completely out of control. And as I say, when somebody decides to kill somebody, it's so easy for them to get weapons, high-powered weapons, to either attack rival gangs, retaliate, deal with somebody who you want them get away or whatever it might be the case. Listen to this, right? This is a lull, right? But we've been recording a little minute. But this is from Anaram. That's as well. Just the week before McDonald Jacob announced that he's going on leave. Parliamentarians are stunned and disturbed yesterday over the disclosure that no scanners are operational at the port of Port of Spain, and 3 officers are tasked to manually inspect thousands of containers that enter this country. I'm not sure if people was following this story. I actually a little surprised that a story that is so stunning got to me very little coverage. Like, I don't know if people are not worried about this. It's that again, parliamentarians appeared stunned and disturbed yesterday over the disclosure that no scanners are operational at the port of Port of Spain, and 3 officers are tasked to manually inspect thousands of containers that enter the country. Remember, a container is a 20-foot or a 40-foot container, right? 3 officers in the port of Port of Spain manually inspecting these. So we fighting a losing battle here. We just sitting ducks because men comfortable bringing in anything illegal, guns in particular, drugs probably. But the guns is the one way all the way. If all you bring in drugs, right, and all who has to sell drugs sell, and who has to buy drugs buy, and who use. Most of us go be alright, you know. We ain't got these kind of problems that we have, and 500 and something people died. 600 is heading to when you pass 600, what we counting is 2 a day is what we looking the next figure we looking forward to. But You have a reality like that on the ground, and a scanner not working on the port, and the parliamentarians stand by this. So the people who were in charge didn't know this. They find this out at that point in time. The Parliament's Joint Select Committee on National Security, chaired by government MP Keith Scotland, intends to take immediate action to write the relevant authorities to speed up the procurement of new. This had to be a joke. These things can't be real. So when they find out this in Parliament, Scotland and them decide we have to take immediate action. Relevant authorities speed up procurement of new scanners. The information about the information about the absence of scanners comes as Trinidad and Tobago grapples with its highest murder toll in history, the majority committed with guns. Our boy, Acting Commissioner of Police McDonald Jacob, who appeared before the JSC, had said previously that the majority of guns entering the country are not coming through illegal borders but through the legal ports. At the JSC Customs and Excise Controller Vidya Marcial, when asked by opposition MP Dr. Rudal Munilal, said she would give the division a B plus grade. A B plus grade in terms of its performance, as she stressed that despite the absence of scanners and severe staff shortages, they are trying to do the job. Boy, listen. When I was in UE, right? If you want to get a B plus or A, you know more work you have to put in to get B plus and A? Over my whole, I think in undergrad, we had to do 30 courses. In Lockjack, I want to say we probably had 20 courses to do. I can't remember, but it's probably at least 20 courses. But I know in undergrad for sure, you had 30 courses to do. Because I wasn't bright, I had plenty more than 30 courses to do because I got accepted to do government and I wanted to switch to management. So you need 30 courses to graduate from management. But when I get into do government, I had to do 10 government-related courses before I got switched to do management. And listen, in UE, I have more C than the C, sure. It's only C. I could tell you every B plus and every A I ever get in my life. And let me tell you something. It's hard work. It's hard to to get A plus or A or a B plus. I have a group of students right now doing a bachelor's class. And it's one of the... I've been doing bachelor's classes for a long time. And especially, I feel especially disconnected when I'm in a bachelor's class where you're doing it on Zoom and you're talking to a Zoom screen and when you ask a question, it gets silent for a while and then somebody go unmute and answer. That is a weird and awkward thing. Thank God I started doing this. Thank God I started doing this podcast before the Zoom classes because I think I get accustomed to talking to nobody. And when in these classes, you just feel like you're talking to nobody. But I meet a group of students here, maybe 50 of them. And the grades on point, their contributions in class on point. They have a submission to do for because they don't do exams like that, right? They submit like assignments. Their assignments and but this group of students in particular doing real well. You could see they're putting in the work and they're making the effort to not just understand the material but to dive into it. I like that. Salute to them. But they know what it takes to get an A or a B plus. I never see a class with so much 80-something% and 70-something%, which would be A's in my time, right? And B plus in my time. But clearly, in Parliament and in business in Trinidad, we don't know what is a B plus and an A. All these people qualified, I always go on record as saying, and I will continue to say, that these people who run in the companies in this country and who run in the government is the best and brightest that the country have to offer. But this lady is saying that with the scanners not working and with 3 people running the port, when a country that riddled with crime, with gun violence, with murders, most of them committed by guns, as the article say, plus plenty gun violence, she given her a B plus grade in terms of the performance. So salute all you. I mean, all bad. I come like my boy in Petrotrin, not Petrotrin, the Paria Inquiry. Who asked, Prakash Ramadan really making a whole meal of this thing. And we will get back to him. But I hear this man was asked how he would rate the rescue effort for the 4 men who died in Paria. And that man take a long time and a long pause. And that man say he will give them an A plus or A. And these fellas clearly, they maybe they didn't go to U, right? Sorry, I have it wrong. They don't know what it takes to get an A or a B plus. But anyway. Deputy Comptroller Yasmin Harris said the container examination is compromised due to staff shortages. They're being checked through physical examination. Unfortunately, that is the best available avenue at the point in time. We don't have sufficient staff. Our container examination station has 14 bays. But unfortunately, with the staff that we have, we can only assign 3 examination officers to assess at the Port of Port-of-Spain. So efficiency is compromised by the fact that we have limited staff. Like in this day of technology, there's no amount of staff who could check container. I mean, anyway. Asked how many containers are scanned, she replied, we now have operational the fixed scanner only at the Port of Port-of-Spain from January to August. We scanned 3,998 containers out of 23,000. She said 4 scanners are functioning at transit sheds in Piaco. Gun havoc. Marcial said that scanners were previously used at the port were donated by the United States government and they were no longer working as they were not properly maintained. Further, no scanner has worked since 2021. She said RFP was submitted to the tenders board for $90 million to purchase 4 scanners with one costing about $1 million. What? Something wrong there. She said her RFP was submitted to the Central Tenders Board to procure 4 new scanners. As she noted, there's a budget of $90 million and can purchase 4 scanners with one costing about $1 million. Independent Senator Paul Richards expressed his concern and alarm over the situation. He said, I'm very disappointed in what I've heard so far. When Paul Richards went Qatar. Given what we're experiencing in the country and at the hands of illegal guns. He said, given the gravity of the situation, this issue is a crisis due to the havoc one weapon can cause to law-abiding citizens and children. He noted data from the SSA. All right, so he went into some data and all that. But, I mean, many of them contributed to it and how disturbed and shocked and perturbed and, gross negligence and so on. And as far as I'm concerned, there's a whole lot of hot air. And it reiterates the fact that there's very little concern about the fact that we are just sitting ducks. We just here and things happening around we have no control over it. And the level of concern is also very low because in this context, somebody could say, yeah, I give it a B plus in terms of the way we're managing this. It's that you could even say that is crazy to me. And even beyond this, right? Because, I mean, that is as glaring an issue as I've seen in a long time. And it seems, this was worrying me about the PNM and the UNC and the ILP and the, it's still ILP? What is it called? What's none of them? They still have that? PDP? PDP end up where ILP end up? When they battling and they fighting and you see everything being called out and every single thing, all you do is a big uproar. But then you see an issue like this that may be one of the main issues the country should be dealing with. Because the biggest problem that we have will be exacerbated by this situation on the port. And you notice that it raised in parliament, there's a lot of shock and awe and surprise and so on. And then it just dies a natural death. No opposition making a big uproar about this. No, it's making me wonder, like I always say these people, they figure out how to work together. And I wonder sometimes if the 2 major parties in this country, not just doing a lot of talking, and then they're playing slack in, slack out. They say, catch me if you can. So I go in power now, catch me if you can. And when you go in, I will slack out and I will come back and beat you next year. So it's a slack in, slack out kind of situation. This is why I say is the best and brightest in the country, because these fellas have an elaborate scheme to just stay on top and stay in charge of the coffers. And because this cannot be, as sometimes I doubt if it's a reality I deal with. This is the only problem people should be talking about and focused on, and just seem to be fizzling away. And in the midst of it, having no scanners there, and 3 people checking all the containers that are passing through the port, Aeropost is still managing to charge me hundreds of percentage points on every package that I bring in. It's impossible. It's impossible. Sending the invoice, upon invoice, they make up their own figure. I ratify the invoice, they ratify it back up, and they ratify me up some fees. Like if they look like they catch me ratifying it and they blast me again. I don't understand how if all the containers not being scanned, yes, them coming through the air, right? And they say all the scanners and Piaco working, but when you're going through airports, them checking them packages one by one and check all them invoice and thing, because the cost of incoming things when you buy stuff on Amazon. And I'm saying this in the context that all the Black Friday thing and them now start to reach. Salute all the Black Friday shoppers. All the Black Friday thing and them start to come in, right? And better I didn't shop online from a Black Friday. All the little discounts you get on the items and all the little sale, every little thing, it's gone. It's gone. All the savings you used to get by Black Friday, they had a 7% thing that was supposed to help reduce the amount of imports coming in, I guess, by making it a little more expensive to import. That did not have the kind of effect that they're having now. I'm not sure. Does somebody ever order by customs to make sure people pay through the teeth to try to get them to stop importing? I understand what too much imports would do to the country, but that man have a limited income. You have to find your way to save your money and make your little $1 into two. But something going wrong with airports. Clearly, airports and them scanners working well. As we on these fellas and the money, right? I saw Ojo News. So Ojo have print news now. It look like, well, I can't call it print. Online, like written articles. Ojo is working. It says TNT achieves budget surplus for the first time in 15 years. Yeah, PNM is working for you. Great is the PNM, and it shall prevail. The total expenditure for fiscal 2022 was less than previously predicted in the finance minister's budget presentation, leading to this country recording its first budget surplus since 2000. I didn't realize it was so long ago. 2007-8, to the tune of $1 billion. The announcement was made in a statement from the Ministry of Finance on Friday. The budget division of the Ministry of Finance reported that as various ministries and departments continue to complete their accounting of their actual expenditure of fiscal 2022 as opposed to the estimated expenditure, it has turned out that the expenditure for fiscal 22 was less than expected, thus improving the fiscal balance. So, salute to all you. All you do good. They have a budget surplus. Now, a budget surplus? No, let's talk about budgeting a little bit, right? Like econ class. Every now and again, you have a econ class. A persistent budget deficit is usually an issue for governance, right? Especially a deep budget deficit. The reason is that, think of it like your own personal budget. It's a bad parallel, right? But if you think of your own personal budget, if you're making $1,000 a month and you have a deficit, it means that you're spending $1,200 a month, right? So you have a shortfall of $200 every month. What did I say? If you're making $1,000 a month but you're spending $1,200 a month, you have a shortfall of $200 every month, right? That $200 a month will turn into $2,400 a year that you're short of. I want you to ask yourself, if that is you, where will you get the money from? You're spending, you have $1,000 in your bank account, but you're spending $1,200. You tell me where the extra $200 come from, right? Usually it is borrowing, right? So you're borrowing from the $200, which means that you have to pay extra money in the form of interest to get access to this $200 to be able to spend, right? Now, there's a few things could happen there. You could take that $200 and put it into something that earns money. Let me assume you know how much the bank here, if you leave your money in the bank, how much interest you get? 10-15% a month? Let me assume that. Let me assume you're putting down your $200 every month, and on that $200, you're making out $20 every month. But when you borrow money, it's only costing you $10 to borrow the money. Then you're making some money and you will be fine in the long run. But as with most people, you're probably taking them dollars to buy brand new Apple stuff. And then they launch it for Black Friday and things go on sale and so on. Or nice new shoes and Nike or something nice, and you know what I mean? Your TV was changing. Most of it will go to consumer products, right? Especially in this country, whatever incremental income we have is tend to go towards consumption. And the same will be said for borrowing. A lot of people borrow to consume. It's credit cards, it's credit unions, or any other credit facility like Island Finance and Courts and so on. We borrow to consume. So as a persistent, going back to at the government level, if the government have a budget and they have a certain amount of money they have to spend, they have to assume that a lot of the money that they're going to spend is going towards the development of the country. in this country where we have such a big public sector, a huge amount of our budget goes just to maintenance of what we have. So we have to pay salaries for people who are already there. We have to maintain the buildings and his stadium, his hospital, his several different buildings that we have to have. We have to put money into running these organizations because healthcare is free-ish. You know what I mean? Education is free-ish and so on. And then if we have any new things that we want to do, we have to put money toward that too. So if it is we only have $1 billion a year in terms of revenue, which our major form of revenue in this country was oil and gas, and the second largest form of income we have after oil and gas is inconsequential. That's how much oil and gas was dwarfing all the other money we make as a country. I think the last time I checked, it was light manufacturing and food and beverage would be after oil and gas. I'm not sure if that's the same, but that was when that's the last time I had looked at it. Would be a long time ago, but that's where it was. And it's almost like if you add up every other sector in this country, it still can't reach the oil and gas revenues, except for the fact that I was looking at them figures mostly 2005 to 2010. Now it's a different story because the revenues that we were making from oil and gas now is not the same as we was making back then. It is way shorter. Just ask anybody who you know working offshore, ask anybody who working in BP, BG, anything starts with a B, ask them how much people would be, how much time they downsize and restructure and reorganize, and how much production going down by, and how much oil price going down by, fluctuating by down from where it was back then. So we in a situation where our revenue is going down. Our forecast and outlook for revenue is going down. Is not looking great, given that so much of it was oil and gas. Our expenditure, however, is going up because we have champagne taste and mobby pockets. Remember when they used to say that? So that is the situation we found ourselves in. So when you have a budget deficit that lasts from 2008 to 2021, you have a problem because you're probably going to have to borrow. And if you do that persistently enough, you're gonna borrow from people like the IMF and them who are gonna come and tell you how to run your country, because them gonna tell you how you're paying them back. They're gonna restructure your country, restructure your fiscal and monetary policy to make sure that you could fiscal and monetary policy, like how you control how much money you put in the system and how you control how much taxation and all that you have, right? They are going to come and tell you how to do that. So I could tell you now that if we end up in too much debt by the IMF and them people, one of the first things they will tell us is, you see, CPEP and all them transfer programs that you have where you pay people and there's nothing. Maybe careful when I say the word productive, right? When we say productive on the streets, what we mean is looking busy. You see, when you're chipping up little fine grass at the side of the road and you're painting a little stone at the side and you're sweeping up, and you have a whacker and somebody else come with a screen so it didn't break nobody's glass, all that is called productive on these streets, because it's looking like you're doing something and you're productive. You see, in economics, productive mean you make something people could buy, right? And while the worker job important and them thing, you're not making anything that anybody could buy. You're not increasing the stock of things that produced in the country. So you're not growing the economy, right? You're stopping the grass from growing by growing the economy. So IMF and them, one of the first things they will come and say is cut that. Take that away. Do not pay anybody. Find ways for people to produce. Find ways to increase what people could buy, so that when people buying more things or you're being innovative in some way, you're not just giving people money to buy the same amount of goods and forcing the price to continue to go up and up and up and up and up. They're going to say, you see, gate and what they call it thing now, dollar for dollar and all them thing while they're paying for people, take them away and so on. Now you'll notice that a lot of the measures that the government has taken over the last 5-6 years look just like what I described in here. They don't really pay. They're still paying gate and thing for. I don't think at master's level you could get gate coverage now, or you had to apply for some means test to prove that you can afford to do it and so on. So you find that what they call transfer programs, they will get reduced. So a persistent budget deficit is usually an issue because it typically indicates that the country's in debt, and the deeper you get in debt is the more problems you'll have, right? So why then I'm hesitant about the idea of a surplus? A persistent surplus usually sends a sign as well And it sends a sign of extremely conservative form of governance and a reluctance for the country itself to be invested in and grow and those types of things. Now, I'll say this, right? That may not be the case in a country like Sweden. No, countries that are well run and well organized, and people are very happy with not just the government necessarily or who is in power, but happy on the ground, because you could go to school, you could find a good job, you could find nutritious food when you go out to go to stores, you could walk on a pavement where you're not gonna trip and fall, you could drive on roads where your car not gonna get destroyed, you could have a magical thing that comes from the sky called rain that doesn't cause floods. If you're living in a society like that, I feel a persistent surplus of budget might be even anything to debate. But when you're living in a country where the crime is real high, the roads real bad, when rainfall everywhere floods. A matter of fact, when rainfall, you have to close the schools. So it's an unproductive day because the children can't go to school, parents can't go to work. Everything stops in this country when rainfall. Traffic is a complete gridlock. People could get stuck in hours of traffic to reach from north to south because the main artery in the country is flooded. Water come in and cover it, right? And most of all, you have a port in the name of the capital here is Port of Spain. The port in that country where crime is rampant, violent crime is an issue. The port in that country don't have no scanner. The scanner and them not working, and people finding out about this. The parliamentarians, the men who are in charge. You have Minister of National Security here. You have Shadow Minister of National Security on this side. You have a Minister of Trade here. You have a Shadow Minister of Trade on this side. These people who supposed to be looking after this and telling us all the time that they have crime plan and they doing this and they doing that. These people are saying, oh God, is that a scanner? Is that a scanner working? Oh God, that's their reaction when they hear it in Parliament. You know what I'm saying? The man who's the boss, the man who's in charge of the police force, who taking some leave, I mean, God bless him, he had to take some vacation, and say, nah, don't worry about nothing, no. In other words, I go on vacation and nothing ain't go change. That man come in and say, hey, the gun problem here is not a thing, it's nothing to do with illegal, nothing, it's gun coming through the normal port, them saying that, right? In this country. Then I had to ask why we have a budget surplus. Because it's clear that we do not have enough facilities. It's clear that enough investment is not being made in enough areas to make the country safe, to make the country welcoming, to make the country develop, to make people feel like they have hope and chance and opportunity. It's clear to me that none of that not happening. So when I see you have and celebrating and patting yourself on the back, listen, you had to go and look up the budget. Just look for budget surplus and watch how Imbert's smiling. The media is a wicked place. If you see the picture, they choose Imbert smiling on this thing, Imbert looking like the happiest man alive, to say that we have a budget surplus. And I asking myself, like, surplus for what? Like, let me bring it back to the home situation, right? In your individual budget, imagine you celebrating after a year, boy, what? I make real money this year and I was able to keep most of the money instead of going into debt and spending on like all these people who like to buy all these sort of products, everything new they're coming out they want to buy. I was able to keep all my money. So I instead of being in a deficit of $300 a month or $200 a month like I was in last year, I have a surplus. I have a little extra $1,000 a month. And you feel good about that. And so now you have $12,000. But in that very household, your roof leaking, some pipe and them ain't working, your toilet, the tank is disconnected from the thing, the yard overgrown. You understand? The place could do with a coat of paint, bulbs ain't working in the house, the place dark, the dog ain't eat for weeks. I trying to figure out like, okay, so right, so you have a surplus, but what's the plan? Because things ain't so great in this household. Like what we could fix? Like we take piece of the surplus now, right? You want to keep your 12,000 circle? All right, good. Let me take 2,000 and buy some light bulb now. Let me see if we can get some light bulb in here so people can see what they're doing, because them training will be able to study their work. You know what I mean? The dog will need to eat. They have to protect the place. The yard had to clean. The roof will leak. The thing about it is this: if you consistently keep that $12,000 in the years to come and never fix the things in the household, what do you think is going to happen to the house in the long run? The house will collapse. The children dance like hell. Everybody's sick. The dog dead. And so I don't understand this. And I think we're far from having a persistent surplus. And when I say persistent, I mean like 5-6 years down the road we still have a surplus. But I was just a little, I was just trying to understand the celebration of a budget surplus when so many things wrong in the country. But I mean, a surplus is a surplus, and they didn't spend all the money, and that is good. Let me just assume that what it did was eliminate corruption. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, right? You see, corruption is one of the ways where the money go add up fast, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, fellas completely eliminate corruption, and that is where they save the billion. But well, maybe not. Let me get to the next article, right? I tried. Fraudsters stole 45 million in flood relief. This is what the Prime Minister said, right? It's by Joel Julian from The Guardian, right? Salute my boy Joel. More than $45 million that was supposed to go to flood victims in Port of Spain. Flood victims in portions of northeast Trinidad last month were instead obtained by fraudsters. So clearly it wasn't the corruption that they saved the money on. I try. Prime Minister Keith Rowley said that. This amount of money lost to fraud was almost double what the government originally intended to give victims of the flooding. Wait, hold on. I need to understand. You were supposed to give like 23 million. How the money double? All right, so you have it. Initially, Rowley had earmarked 25 million to be allocated to flood victims with the possibility of the flood relief figure going a little above it if necessary. Okay, so a little bit above, if it's 25, a little above will be like 27, maybe 28. You know what I mean? A little above could be 30 and beyond. He said, however, a total of 118 million was eventually spent, but 40% was taken by fraudsters. I know that. What? I regret to tell you that the Minister of Family Services told me today that when they audited, having dealt with the claims as expeditiously as possible, so as to bring relief as quickly as possible, the public service handling that, we discovered that the level of fraud in the program was 40%, and now there's a matter for the Ministry of Finance audit. And the police, because there are people among us who have accepted that misconduct of that nature is normal. I think we'll accept that a long time, rollers. This is the norm. This is the culture. Trinidad and Tobago. Misconduct of that form is in fact normal. You yourself say you said 25 million to be put towards the thing, with the possibility of it going a little more. And then you say 118 million was spent. What my calculator, boy? Me is so good at maths. Where's 118 million minus 25 million? Let me talk about overruns here, right? 118 minus 25. Carry the one if you bring across the 3. 93 million. So you plan to spend 25. Then a total of 118 or so, 93 more. About 300 and something % more is where you spend on it. And then you come in to tell me 40% of that amount, they thief it. We just set something. Our country is one where these things designed to operate this way. I don't know that I could earmark that I'm gonna move over that 25 million, you know what I mean? But boy, when people come and they apply and think I started feeling sorry for people, I wanted to do this thing fast, and all of a sudden it reach up to 118. So tell me this, right? If you this Scotia these days, they must send me a little thing. When I as I spend a $5 so they send me a text, say, hey, you spend $5 here. When you take out $20 from the account, they say, hey, you take out 20. I think they do it for the fraud, right? Because they had a lot of issues with fraud, which I was also a victim of. So they're making sure that you know whenever you take out money. I get a text message, generally I reach my check, my email, I have an email on that too, right? I wonder if the government, like the treasury, have anything like that, like a little text message they could send Rowley when these things, because here what happened. Rowley says 25, maybe a little more if necessary. So nobody can text Rowley when it reached 28, 29, 30. He couldn't get like a text, no kind of email, no kind of update. What we doing here in this age of technology? Only wait till it reach 118. The man must hear no. From 25 to 118, and then you discover that 40% was stolen. So all right, let me do some quick maths again, right? What is 40% of 118? If you drink this, carry that across Pythagoras theorem. $47.2 million, right? What is 47.2 minus the original 25? Let me make it 28 for grace's sake, right? So 40% of the thing was stolen. Let me do this the right way. 118 is where you spend. The thief, 47.2. So 70.8 was legitimately spent money is what you're trying to tell me. So what I want to understand is, if you move from 25 and a little more, we call it a little more 28, minus that 70, it's $42 million you overbuy. What was the situation with that 42? All right, so you're telling me the thief 40%, cool. That 42, right? Almost double. You went over by almost, they spent the 25, then you spent an extra 40 something. Like, how that come about? Nobody ain't thief there. All right, let me just read it. Rowley made the statements that he delivered a feature address at PNM's Thursday night at the What? Feature address at the People's National Movement Thursday night at the Port of Spain City Hall. When the flooding occurred, Rowley initially announced that 25 million would be distributed in flood relief. He said that this figure, Rowley said he arrived at this figure after he was told the victims of big flood in the southeastern end of the country were given just over 12 million in flood relief. I immediately made a statement and instructed the Minister of Finance to make $25 million available. I doubted it because I had seen the extent of these areas from Kelly up to Greenvale. I realized this was much more than what happened in the southeast corner and Oropouche Basin. We doubled it. All right, so this is how you come up with this. Rowley said the affected households without children will receive 15,000, while those with children receive 20,000. These things so arbitrary. That was to make it easier to administer and to make a little more direct, to make it a more direct and a little more assistance. Immediately I had reason to caution the Minister of Social Development. Watch the behavior of people. We have those who will try to get more than they are qualified for, and some who didn't qualify at all. However, this is exactly what happened. He said, the next thing I know, because of the ease with which we were facilitating the claims being made by those affected by the water, I was told by the Minister of Finance that the program of assistance to those affected by the floods is now costing $84 million. By the time I asked the Minister of Social and Family Services about the claims made and how much we have addressed, we discovered that it's now 180. Listen. God himself got to come and tell me we're not dealing with people who corrupt. And when I say people who corrupt, I don't mean the government, I'm talking about me and you. As a people, we accept and almost encourage situations like these, because if me and you put we hand on this 15, 20,000, we could get we FUL faster. If that a little way I could apply and say, all right, my place flood out, I just wet down my place. You know what I mean? Sometimes you come out the bathroom too fast and you wet down in front by you. You send them a picture that they give you a 20,000. If your wife send the same picture and she get 20,000 too, now you have your 40,000 to put towards your fuel. You're good to go. I think we generally inherently corrupt, and we like systems like this that get us these kind of little latitude where we could wiggle room. You know what I mean? What we have this should not be my next story, if we're being honest. I wanted to separate these two stories, right? This is only coincidence, all that corruption talk, and then the next thing I see here is ex-minister Herbert Volney dies. I want to say that was just coincidence, right? I did not line up these things like that. It was just the next thing I see, and I'll talk about it. Rest in peace to Herbert Volney. I know I'm supposed to... Why I keep pressing that when I say rest in peace, but I'm having a rough time today, and all you had to bear with me. So, this is from Rhea Tate. His public life was mired in controversy, both at its inception and its termination. Brutal. In his separate roles as judge and as politician, his tenure in judicial office would be overshadowed by the ghost of the Brad Boys decision, while his tenure in politics may be subsumed by the ghost of Section 34. Former judge and former minister Herbert Volney died of a heart attack yesterday morning at the age of 69. He had previously undergone quadruple bypass open heart surgery that saved my life, quote unquote, 2 weeks after he was appointed Minister of Justice in June 2010. Volney had proudly described himself as the Montserrat-born Dominican educated of a St. Lucian father and Dominican mother who gave up British citizenship before declaring allegiance to Trinidad and Tobago. The Express went on. It was a little brutal, to be honest, because I mean, if you know the history of Herbert Volney, he was really involved in some major scandals. My good partner Pablo was a part of that Brad Boys case. When Brad Boys had hit that boy and that boy died, Pablo was next to them when that happened, and he was a witness in the case at the time. And I remember being a young fella and, liming with Pablo all the way up to the time he had to go to court and thing, and just hearing about this case all the time. And it was clear. It was clear that as far as everybody else was concerned, Brad Boys was guilty. If you can remember, there was a club in Long Circular. Was the name of the club Edge? Or I think the one in South was Edge. What was the name of the club in Gulf City again? Gulf City had a big club at the time, and there was a big club in Long Circular by the name of Edge, I think. And Pablo and them went. Jason Johnson was the guy name, and another one is Jason and Sean Johnson. Sean, they used to call Red Dog, and Jason is a little youth man with them. And that's Jason, Sean, little brother. And they come out the club, and something happened with who was wearing, and they put them out the club, and an argument ensued between Brad Boys, who was the proprietor or the owner of the club, the family who managed it. And it was like, even now you hear it posed as an altercation, and over the years it started to become a fight between Brad Boys and them where Jason died. And Pablo, would be a witness there, had always told me from the beginning of that they was arguing, they cuss up one another and thing. And Jason cuss him. And this Pablo words, right? He put his hand in his pocket. He make a fist, hit him a cuff, and then put his hand back in his pocket. And the boy collapsed right there. And by the time anything happened, they had to rush him to hospital. He was in a coma for a little while, and he eventually died. It seemed as though it was a pretty clear case. I mean, sometimes when you're looking from any public looking in, it's hard to make these kind of judgments, right? When you're looking out from the public, but it seemed as though it was kind of obvious that Brad Boys was going to be guilty. Jason would not have been dead if Brad Boys didn't hit him. It's such a simple thing, you know what I mean? I don't know what all the legal speak behind it should look like, but it's strange, and the article went on to say, the DPP, Jason Johnson had been struck in the head during an altercation with Brad Boys outside a St. James nightclub in '96, but Boys was freed following an instruction from Volney to the jury to return a not guilty verdict. The DPP appealed this decision, saying it was wrong in law, and the Privy Council concurred. So the DPP appealed his idea that he basically tell the jury to bring in a not guilty verdict. And the Privy Council say, yeah. They said Volney, of his own volition, had asked pathologist Hugh Devines about his qualifications in forensic pathology. Imagine you in a case, you fighting for justice for your son who died, and the judge is asking about the qualifications of one of the witnesses who would be a pathologist at the time. The Privy Council also pointed out that Volney, of his own accord, had asked the chief pathologist, Professor Chandulal, about these qualifications, and that based on Dr. Chandulal's testimony, Volney deemed the evidence of Dr. Devines inadmissible. The Privy Council ruled that Volney should not have called Professor Chandulal to the witness stand for the purpose of giving his opinion on the expertise of another witness. And then, of course, Brad Boys was freed. And I didn't know this, but this article says that Volney conceded in 2013 that he made an error in releasing Brad Boys. And this it's just how we are as a country, these things are allowed to happen and we move on. We kind of like FIFA, when the ball kick here, whatever the version of the ball kicking is Christmas coming up, Carnival coming up, Eid is come up, Diwali. It always has something to look forward to celebrate. We are a real celebratory culture, So once the celebrations start, we tend to forget these things. And today, you deal with a company called Crete Art, who does concrete stamping and those types of things. Really, really good work. Just check the names of the people who run in that company, right? So that's the reality of Volney. Come back in after get back into politics, and you come and hold up a snake and tell people to pay them and them a snake, and he did to kill the snake, cut off the head of the snake, and it's just a odd kind of dude. He was completely embroiled in the Section 34 issue, where they passed an act late at night to basically allow people whose case was going on too long to escape. Two of them people coincidentally was Ishra Galbaransing and Steve Ferguson. So so rest in peace to Hubert Volney first and foremost. But I thought this article was such a good reflection of who we are as a society. All of us Volney. All of us are Volney. We have a little ways, a little trickiness. I tell people all the time, I will know that this country changing when they have lines, right? When you line up in a pharmacy, Super Farm was one of them. It used to have a line by each cashier. Each person had 3 people be in the line, or by the gas station, you see it sometimes. You have 2, 3 cashiers, and they have when a new cashier open, and the people from the back of the line rush to the front, I will know we still the same as Trinidad is. When the people in the back of the line tell somebody in front, no, you go ahead. And you think you were here before me, go ahead. Then I will know Trinidad and Tobago change. Until then, always Volney, you know what I mean? And the UNC put out a statement. This was the boy, This was the boy who signed off the thing for the boy and them to get off, and everything was smooth. They love Volney too bad. All when UNC done an outsider power. If it, on social media, you used to see Volney still cussing Rowley at them. Matter of fact, Rowley at a point in time just last year during the COVID lockdowns, Volney was making videos saying, "Hey Rowley, you're so stupid, I'm still bathing in the sea. Come and lock me up if you want to lock me." This time he in St. Lucia or somewhere. Yeah, I love the Tricky Dad. The Tricky Dad is one of the greatest of all times. And that is Volney, and that is the life of him. You're a man who do so much and was so loyal to the UNC. I could see him in the yellow shirt right now. And the UNC put out a statement basically saying, to the Volney family, we're sorry you passed away. Rest in peace. It was so odd to me. It just goes to show you sometimes in life. Anyway, that's just how it goes. People is before you and everything when you're good, and we could do something for them. And then when that time passed, them they get rid of years. They just say, well, Volney is all you hold on tight. Sorry, all you lost all your father and all your friend. But I will say rest in peace to Herbert Volney and condolences to the family. All right, now the only kick something again back into my own personal life here, right? I want to say happy anniversary to my loving wife. I know none of these topics don't really. Just when you listen to a topic, just pretend I didn't talk about nothing else before this, right? There's no order, no rhyme, or no reason to this today, right? But I'll tell you that I found out it was my second wedding anniversary on the 5th of December. I found out that very late on the night of the 4th of December, right? While we're playing a little music, salute to Riverview Park. It's one of the best places to live. Should I be putting my whole place on your address and thing on it? The place is nice, you know what I mean? We had a lime, the committees and so on usually come together and put on stuff. So one of the things they put on recently was what do you call this? A creche. You see, this is why I don't get into these religious things, because I put myself in problems. Let me call it a creche walk, right? They walk with each other and somebody play Joseph, somebody play Mary. Salute Zachary. Zachary was Joseph this year. And they went down the thing and they blessed the creche and stuff. So they asked me to come and play music because it word got out that I could play a little bit of music. And even before I get into this, I want to say this too, right? I tell all of the story about my parents' side already, with a couple of members pass away from the COVID and thing. And I still have my side as play with daddy and them, but I need a rum side who you could just call at short notice and could come out and play anywhere. And who's play plenty more rum song than Parang, right? And you see, next year Christmas, I'm not going through this. I am officially a sellsword. I am a sellsword. Whoever band need a quattro, I just fall in with somebody because you see this frustration trying to find people to prank with Christmas time is the worst. But anyway, they call me out to come and play. And when I watch the list of songs now, it's O Come Emmanuel, Away in a Manger, long time ago in Bethlehem, Little Drummer Boy, Pum Pum. Let me tell you something. Me and go to church so long at Sunday school and they sing. I don't know none of these songs. So it's to see me now trying to work out chord sheet, remember which song is which. When I singing the wrong lyrics for the wrong song. So when it's supposed to say, away in a manger, no crib for a bed, I singing, long time ago in Bethlehem. I don't know which song is which. But salute to John and Joanna. They sit down with man, work out all the chords, Joanna, that guitarist playing in the Shogunas. In the parish, in the church. What is called the church in Shogunas? The cathedral. I know what it is, the church in Shogunas, right? So she sit down and help me work through all these chords and things. So I write down my chords and things. I ready to go, I ready to play. We played through the thing. It was nice. It was more like I didn't realize this at the time. I thought we just playing while the children walk, and when them children sing, I could hide all my bad chord behind that, right? But apparently it's like a church service. So the priest or the deacon say a few words. Next thing they give you a signal. We have to go with a song. So we going down with it. The thing come off nice. Salute to Joanna. Salute to Ruben, John, everybody who was playing inside. Right? The side song nice. And a lady in the midst of the thing now come and tell me. She say, your song so beautiful. The music was so good. Oh my God, he played the quattro so nice. It was nice. I'm Joanna's mommy now. Joanna's a little girl. I had to tell Joanna's like, well, a young lady, I should say. No, all due respect. Might be 17 years old now, finished school and thing, but she playing. She could play. So she said, I'm Joanna's mommy. I said, oh, nice. She's so nice. I said, you have two beautiful children and nice. And they helped me so much to learn the thing. And I didn't know any of the songs because I go to the church so long. Well, who tell me say that? I was really over talking. I go and say that, and she said, no, you have to come to church. You must come to church now. You can't just stay away from God and stay away from the word. And I said, oh, Jesus Christ. I said, what is I going to tell this woman that for? So now I'm looking in the corner of my eye for Stacy because all the thing, right, my foot starting to be better. Long time I get a little foot update. For those who don't know, I had Achilles surgery. I ruptured my Achilles in May and had surgery back then on the mend. And surprisingly, yesterday I went and played football. I had to play barefoot. I still can't wear shoes too hard, but I played barefoot and it wasn't too bad. I could actually run. I could go side to side. I could run, stop. I'm frightened to sprint, but that's the next story. But one of the things that definitely aggravated my foot is standing up for too long. Because I only played 2 gigs for the season so far. I played that night for the church thing with them, the crash blessing. I don't know what you're supposed to call that. And I played with my father and them in a Shangri-La home for the elderly run by the Sir Optimist Club. I hope I have that right. But every year we go there and we play for the elderly people there. That is always a nice little jam. But you see, standing up for long and playing music, I feel as how I tap my foot like I be stamping my foot or something. Eventually I started being pain when I'm playing music for too long. So by the time we play that little piece of music, because we rehearse maybe just for an hour or two before we start, and then we went down and started play. By this time, my foot hurting, but who tell Joanna, mommy, that me ain't going to church? Now, I'm looking for Stacy now to see if she could pull me out of this buff again for not going to church. Huh? When she'd sing, I said, yes, this is my wife here. She said, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know your wife's face and this and that. And I go and say, I ain't going to church. Stacy said, well, we're going to church tomorrow. And I thinking, babe, tomorrow is Monday. We're talking about going to church is on Monday. How will you go to church on a Monday? And she keeps saying, yes, he's going to church tomorrow because on the first anniversary, we said that what we'll do is on every anniversary, we'll go back to St. Mary's Church where we get married and then go back and have breakfast at Hilton or lunch at Hilton where we had the reception. And boy, I forget that clean. You know when the 1st of December come and you remember that, or late November, you remember it had that. And then somewhere close to the day, that just completely out there, man. And I set up this thing bad, and all the married people who's listening to this supposed to be giving me some better advice than this, because Stacey's birthday is end of November. The wedding is 5th of December and it's Christmas. Like I go end up with a persistent budget deficit like the government here. But that lady find out. Well, eventually I pick up and Stacy say, yes, it's our anniversary tomorrow. That's why I said, oh God, yes, it's true. And she said, no, well, if this is your anniversary, we have to get you all a blessing. Come, let the deacon pray on you all. And I said, oh, Jesus. So the deacon had to pray now. And let me tell you something. The deacon, I should have let the deacon do this podcast last week when I couldn't make, because the deacon have a good hour and a half in him. Impromptu. I never see him nowhere. I don't know him from nowhere. The deacon wife was part of the band playing with me too, and the deacon went into a speech. Let me tell you something. It could rival the best of the podcast. You go back to whoever's your favorite episode, the deacon 10 times better than that. But it's about a solid hour and a half, and my foot hurting. I'm trying all how to swing my foot and thing, and I tell myself, boy, this is your pain for your sins. You want to break the church. You ain't no way in a manger. All I know is the drummer boy, because I have a pum pum. I know once they say drummer boy, I know is pum pum. I could find them chords any given day. But when they start with O come, Emmanuel. And you know, Joanna and them, they're accustomed to church, you know, so she playing. And I play. I play like it's everything for me is a soca beat. But salute to them. I'm glad for the community doing these things and bringing the children together and everything. But it's a disgrace that this is the only 2 gigs I play for this season. So I'm officially a sellsword, and I'm available for anybody, any way people want to play. I play, and I always enjoy playing that old people home too, with the Shangri-La nursing home, because every year we realize that the party is for the elderly, but I think it's really for the nurses, because the liquor don't come out till the elderly start to head to sleep. And them nurses is make sure them elderly get up and dance. From the time we start to play, they pick them up and start to dance, and within the first 15 minutes, them tired. It's time to head in their bed, and then the fete start when the nurses come out and thing. But I need to be playing more gigs. But salute to my wife. Salute, we make it for 2 years, you know what I mean? But I just want to touch base with a couple here who are an example of, you know, sometimes you're looking up to people in terms of, there's that thing they used to tell us in marriage counseling a lot. You have to surround yourself and try to look for examples of people who would have been married before, so that you get a real sense of what marriage is like, you know? Because you might go into it telling yourself that, listen, this thing is easy pickings, everybody gonna be good, you know what I mean? Or you have a great relationship that will always continue. You don't have anything to worry about, you know? And whereas when we did the marriage encounter with the Catholic Church, one of the things I realized very, very quickly is that it was other couples that are around, the people who carried on the session. So we did it on Zoom, but yeah, it wasn't like a priest. I always thought when you do marriage and consenting is a priest trying to tell you, listen, you know what I mean? There's the end of the road, you hang up your guns, you're coming in the church now, you know what I mean? I thought it was like that, but there's actually other couples who carry on the sessions, and they talk about their own struggles and how they met and all other things, and how they manage their finances and how they deal with religion in the relationship if 2 of y'all are different religions and all these types of things. But one of the things they kept telling us was stay close to them as older couples who could help counsel us when we see problems, because they say problems will come and you have to, you know, it goes with the church, right? They're trying their best to make sure you're in divorce, so they're giving you the advice that you need to get there. So I just want to touch base with 2 of the relationship experts who I would usually look up to and pattern myself after, which is Derrik Da'Naia and Da'Naia Jaxn. I want to hear from Da'Naia Jaxn real quick. Will you bear with me here?
Every person speaking against the names Da'Naia Jaxn and Derrik Jaxn in mockery, accusations, slanders, and lies, may the mercies of God be withdrawn from you. May your husbands and wives become widows. Let your children become fatherless. Let your seed become vagabonds on the earth.
Jesus.
Let the words of your mouth and your words of your hands be returned back to you. Let it go down your throat and choke you slowly until your days become few on the earth. The word of God says, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. You've been warned. And if you want to know where that is at in the Bible, go to Psalm 109. Go to Psalm 35, go to Psalm 140, go to Psalm 141, and keep our names out of your mouth in the name of Jesus.
I thought it was going to be inspirational. That's the voice of Da'Naia Jaxn, as the caption says here. Let them be continually before the Lord, that he may cut off the memory from them from the earth. Psalm 109. She must say. I just want to let it be known as well that the very next article in the Shade Room is relationship coach Derrik Jaxn announces divorce from wife Da'Naia Jaxn. My family and I have gone through many changes. You want to hear what Derrik Jaxn had to say after this? This was when they was together, at least when she thought they was together. And the woman just attack everybody. This, you know what I mean? They say keep yourself around couples that could pattern yourself. But clearly this is not a couple I could pattern. Me and Stacey after again. We're in trouble here. Derrik Jaxn's statement. Over the past several months, my family and I have gone through many changes. Some of you have speculated, while others have reached out to offer support as we privately establish this new normal for ourselves and our beautiful children. Earlier this year, after much prayer, counseling, and deep consideration, we decided to go our separate ways. This video was before this statement, right? And file for divorce. Making the decision to file was one of the hardest decisions of my life, but I found peace in knowing that our mission of raising healthy children, starting with healthy and whole parents, is still being accomplished. Salute to you. All this, all they could make statements, Yeah, a statement. They must get McDonald Jacobs to write a statement for him now. From falling in love as teenagers to becoming spouses to now co-parents, I'm grateful for the years we've spent together and wouldn't trade them for anything. I was blessed to have such an amazing person in my life, and I will forever be thankful for all she's meant to our family. We ask that if you pray, to please pray for us and help us to navigate this grieving process. If not, please respect our privacy. I pray for you, George. I'll get the I'll call your name and I think for the deacons we could do about an hour and a half to pray for you. But I find Da'Naia Jaxn come out, she come out swinging, she come out very, very hard and very, very rough at people, roughing up people. So Psalm 109, she says she wished the words of your mouth and the words of your hand will go back down your throat and choke you to death. She says she wished your wife become a widow and your husband become a widow. Oh, you have so much of venom for a man who's divorcing you. I want to quote for you Psalm 1004. Hush your mouth and let people like you. Only talk about things. These people is two of the biggest frauds I've seen. I only remember the original when I first find out who these people were. The man hold on to she hand tight. She in a French berry. Come to talk about love and this and that. And he had some birds talking to in the car. She hold on tight and this is the relationship. And we solid as a rock. And you see this sort of relationship advice and thing. There's one thing I appreciate the marriage encounter with the Catholic Church for, because them people was telling you all the things they're telling you about other couples and people who you could pattern yourself after and who could counsel you or mentor you in relationships and things. Boy, one of the main things they're trying to tell you is, boy, work out your thing between you and your wife, Don't go to sleep vexed. Don't run back by no mother. Don't run back by no father. Don't run back by no next woman. Don't run back by no next man. Stay together and work out all your problems. And one of the main answers within the oldest couples that were there, or the most seasoned couples, I shouldn't say oldest. One of the first things they tell us, when people is asking, well, how you managed to make it so long in marriage? Well, them people say, we didn't leave. That is the main thing to two of them. Them was like, neither we leave. They say both of we had enough reason to leave and we decided we're not leaving one another. So salute to my second year. Salute to everybody who had 15 and 16 and 17 years. I don't know how all this remember these things. Always do like series send you a reminder when your anniversary come and you buy something. They say this anniversary is paper. What is so? They say last year was paper and this year was plastic or something. So if you're recycling or if it's an anniversary situation. But salute to Derrik Jaxn and Da'Naia Jaxn. I hope to blow well past all your number, and you know what I mean? Just always remember Psalm 1000. Hush your mouth and let people like you. Now listen, I ain't playing no song for this whole episode. I try and open the episode with a song and them kind of thing. I get the song cleanness, but in the spirit of Christmas, especially given the fact that I can't get nobody to parang with, I want to play one of the most underrated and underappreciated soca parang kings in Trinidad and Tobago.
Hey! I went to the bed and I eat and I sleep and I wake and I'm ready to leave. Oh, hey. work and I'm ready to leave home. Sour, I come in day, Nova,
I come in there.
Santa Cruz, I come in day. Yes, a day and a day, a day and a day. Picton, I come in day. John, I come in day. Apanti, I come in day. Yes, a day and a day and I come in day. People, let's come on, people, let's go on. That is one thing I already know. Who's an antenna trying me to hide to check out my friends, tell them I said, this is this Christmas in the whole world. It's in Trinidad and Tobago. The reason why this thing is so sweet is so I get fun again to and fro. Arima, I come in day. Napuna, I come in day. Aruka, I come in day. Yes, a day and a day and a day and a day. Ramen, I come in day. Fortin, I come in day. Martin, I come in day. Yes, a day and a day and I come in day. Anybody who watch Johnny White to provide them are not thinking twice. They could have be down in Fajapat. They could have be in Paradise. If they don't have, I will not complain. Bring all the Hennessy and punching. The women when I'm single barrel. I party ginger beer and this are real. Brandy, I come in day. Safari, I come in day. Safari, I come in day. It's a day and a day and a day and a day. The arrow, I come in day. Paraseco, I come in day. Con Diablo, I come in day. It's a day and a day and I come in day. I went to the bed and I eat and I sleep and I wake and I'm ready to leave. Hey. I went to the bed and I eat and I sleep and I wake and I'm ready to leave. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi. Passing by.
Next year Christmas I just sell sword. I just falling in. Anybody I see playing music, I go in there. Wherever the price is, I don't care the price. I just want somewhere I could play music. Christmas Eve night, I'm not supposed to be home. And I done seen another Christmas Eve night where I could end up home again. I don't like it. We're gonna fix this between this year and next year. But hey, most importantly, stay safe. Let me keep this thing under 600. It's the Christmas season. The traffic is already crazy. Somehow the weather finding its way to get back bad too. So let me just take with time and enjoy yourself and enjoy this season. We're fully in Christmas mode. And remember, this might be the last episode of the year. I'm just saying. It mightn't be, but it might be. So enjoy it. And I will talk to you all next week. Bye.